Earnestly Podcast here. I'm gonna do a little bit of a pod I really didn't want to do because my disdain for all things Philly sports and all that. But I got to bring him on, and I'm talking.
Except Jalen Hurts, right?
Yeah, except Jalen Hurts, Matthew Muehliesen, my my teammate now on Huddle Up every Tuesday. Also 1/5 of the 3CT podcast, wrestling podcast. Matt, what's up, man? It just doubled you like literally fucking 5 minutes ago. Now I got to do it again another 20.
Did yeah. Now we get to expand further. We could talk about other sports though besides football. Apparently, that's not frowned upon here. So it'd be nice to broaden our horizons. I know on the when we used to do the Big Jim Sports podcast, we used to delve into other things besides football. So
Yeah,
nice to finally do that again.
did you try basketball with him also?
I tried. I really tried. We did a lot of golf, which was tough because I don't watch a ton of that, and Jim does. And so I know he would. We usually spend like 20 minutes on golf, and there was the NBA Finals the one year. It was the first instance of the Cavs Warriors where I had to like really press him. Like, can we talk about this? It was going into like Game 6. He's like, yeah, fine. So it happened. It wasn't often, but it happened.
So name of this bonus episode is showing some quote unquote brotherly love, I suppose. Because you are running on a heater right now in Philadelphia with sports.
It's scary, man.
It's very scary, and it's something I can't wrap my head around. The Eagles are obviously unbeaten right now. Currently, you have Sixers are doing all right, but they'll be all right. But the Phillies, and that's right now the cherry on top right now. The Phillies are in the World Series.
Phillies,
nobody had that seen that coming.
No, not at all.
I
think even the most optimistic of Phillies fans were hoping for them to beat the Cardinals and then put on like a good showing against the Braves. And then when they got past the Braves and it was Phillies Padres, I think that probably was cause for a little more optimism. Two wild card teams. It's kind of a crapshoot at that point. And the Phillies were getting hot at the right time as they saw against Atlanta. So I think once we got past Atlanta, that's when a lot of people started to believe in that. But even I have season tickets for the Phillies, so before the postseason started, I got the email like, as a season ticket holder, you can buy 2 tickets to a game each round if you want. And for me, it was house money because if they didn't make it, that just went towards my season ticket plan for next year anyway. So I'm spending this money anyway. I might as well just go. And I've certainly cashed in the right season to get those season tickets because I was able to get 2 for each one game for each round, and then I got to buy some extra tickets then once they opened it up more. So I was able to loop some friends in, so they were able to see some games too without having to pay the astronomical prices that you're seeing on secondary markets right now.
I saw something you sent me in the chat yesterday, like the tickets for the World Series.
Insane.
Just to stand up and watch a game was over $1,000.
Over $1,000.
And that's the case.
That was for game 3, which isn't even a clinching possibility.
Right.
So the game 5 ones, I want to say, are now up to $1,500 for standing room only.
I mean, I know inflation's a thing, but I mean, come on.
I mean, that's not what those people paid for those seats. But I mean, however you got to pay your bills, I'm not going to knock anyone's hustle. It's just unfortunate for a lot of fans who probably don't have the means to pay that much for a standing room only ticket that won't get to see their favorite team in the World Series.
Right. I guess the one thing I will say about being a Met fan, of course, and being used to disappointment every year because I've been a Met fan since 1988, so I'm used to this shit. I warned fans the Mets like back in August not to get ahead of themselves and all that. They listened to me clearly. So, but the one saving grace for me, I will say, and be wrong, I did a top 5 of my 5 most disliked baseball teams on the podcast on Thursday, and Phillies on top of the list. Trust me. Is that at least all 4 top teams in the National League were eliminated in the playoffs for the NLCS. Yeah. All Cardinals, Mets, Braves, and Dodgers. Who the hell would have thought that, dude?
Right. Yeah, it was insane. It kind of went back. I know you follow hockey a little bit when the Flyers went to the Stanley Cup in 2010, and it was kind of the same thing where all the good teams just kept getting knocked out before the Flyers had to face them. So it was like we got the opportunity. Not that the Flyers didn't have to. Obviously, they were the 7 seed, so they did have to take down the 2 seed, similar to what the Phillies had to do this year. But making it an easier path is certainly nothing to sneeze at. But at the same time, the Padres, that lineup was one that I was a little concerned about. When you have Machado and Soto in the same lineup, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of offensive firepower that can get hot, similar to how the Phillies did. They just did not. They had flashes, but nothing consistent.
You're not talking your shit. What's going on?
I don't want to go too hard, just because then, should fate not go my way this coming week,
Hold on.
then
Hold on.
makes
No,
things a
no.
little more
Fuck.
difficult.
Wait. No. This is house money, dude. You're not even expected to beat Houston in this series.
That's the thing for me is, do I expect a World Series win? Probably not. But the end of the day, I didn't know if I would ever get to go to a World Series game. I was in college when they made it back in 08, so I was broke, no money to go to playoff games whatsoever. I got to go to the parade, which was awesome, but everything else was just on my TV. So to actually know that in 1 week, well, less than a week now from when we're airing this, I will be attending a World Series game. I think that's all that really matters.
You go to game 3, right? Game 3?
Game 4. I'm going to game 4. So that was the other thing, that when I made my purchases, you get to choose which game you go to, and
that's cool.
Being the level-headed Philly fan that I was like, give me a guaranteed game every time. They're not going to clinch in game 3 of the NLDS likely. I didn't foresee a sweep if we're winning, so I didn't get to see any of the final games of the series. But it was like, I want to make sure I'm at least going to a playoff game, a World Series game. Like, I don't want to hitch my wagon to game 5 and then we get swept and I don't get to go.
So let's get it real. Astros are a fantastic baseball team.
Yeah.
They have not lost a fucking game since this playoffs have started. Okay.
Right.
They swept the Yankees. I mean,
I'm
there's
sure
no surprise.
You loved it.
Oh, I absolutely did love it. I mean, because the next 2 teams on my list is 2A, 2B, Yankees and Dodgers, second most hated teams. They haven't lost a game yet, and I don't know. This team just seems very hungry. I feel like ever since the whole cheating scandal came about, this team has been on a mission to prove people wrong and all that. I don't know, man.
They haven't yet. I think this is kind of the year where they're trying to make that statement, which is unfortunate. Yeah. It's tough, man. I don't foresee. I'm hoping a 6-game series is what I'm looking for.
The thing
either
is, though,
direction. I don't want to get swept. That's
of course
my only thing.
I don't see it happening either. I don't see it happening.
I think the bats for the Phillies are hot enough that we can pull a game or 2 out. And not to say they can't do the unthinkable, but like you said, house money. This is just kind of one of those things where you go into. I mean, you've seen it with sports teams in the past that you follow as well. Like the Heat last year, I think that even though they were the 1 seed, I don't think anyone had them going past the Celtics. So to get it as far as they did, I think that was probably
the best example is really the best example for me. Really, honestly, all the teams I move forward, the 07 Giants to me is the perfect comparison to that. Like, I remember going to that playoff saying, "Okay, look, we're in the playoffs. We're a 5 seed in the NFC. Just beat Tampa in the first round, and we're good. That's a good year for us. We'll lose to Dallas again, and we'll be all right. Then you run the table with beat Dallas, beat Green Bay, and beat New England. I think this Philly team is dangerous. Like, I'm picking Houston to win the series, but this might go longer than people give credit for, because I think in baseball, the most dangerous team to have to play is the one that has nothing to lose. Right. This Philly team's been on a heater since late September, and they just play nothing to lose. There were no expectations other than making the playoffs, maybe one as a wild card. That's it. And now you've beaten Atlanta, you beat St. Louis, and now you beat San Diego, who just beaten the Dodgers and the Mets. So there's nothing to lose for these guys. And I think if Houston does not get, obviously they haven't lost a game yet, so obviously they're doing their job. But it would not shock me if Philly pulls it off. It would not shock me, and I'll if it happens, I'm gonna cry my ass off next fucking. And cry as a guy who hates the fucking Phillies.
I'll be unbearable.
I'll be unbearable.
I will.
Yeah. Oh, I know you will. Could you imagine can you imagine? Now, look, this is obviously, I'm not saying it's a long shot, but things are playing out pretty well right now. If both the Phillies and the Eagles win titles in the span of 3-4 months.
Yeah, and don't don't count out the Union, who are in the championship series in the
I keep forgetting
MLS.
you're a soccer guy. I keep forgetting that
Yeah,
you're a soccer guy.
so I mean, Philly right now has a lot going on, and it's even funnier because the Flyers were supposed to be kind of that blemish on the Philly roster, and they're playing above expectations at this
Mm,
point too. So it's an interesting, which is a scary time in Philly because this just doesn't happen. I mean, your
mm,
fandom's kind of gone hand in hand with Phillies. I mean, you've seen more success out of the Heat than I have on the
yeah,
NBA side, but
yeah.
the droughts that they go between your baseball, your hockey, your football winning
Oh yeah.
season. So for
Especially the
all of
Mets.
them to just kind of click at the same time, I was
Yeah,
telling Jim the other day that Notre Dame's kind of keeping me grounded, and I can't have
yeah.
everything. So if one team has to be that sacrificial lamb with them being in the position they already are, then sure, let it be Notre Dame. Let it be the Sixers for the first month of the season if they have to be that black horse, so be
So
it.
so I've had like also like for me like I think closest thing I had to like success like in the small span like '06 Heat, '07 Giants titles there, and then I had the 11 Giants, and then 12 and 13 Heat win finals after that, and then the Seminoles win the 14 for college football. So I had a nice little run in in my early
Yeah,
careers, and then after that everyone to shit. Florida State
yeah,
sucks now. Giants only now getting their shit together now. The Heat have been relatively decent pretty much in the last couple of years, but yeah, I get the drought thing, man. That thing is and the Mets won the World Series 2015. Went to the World Series, but they lost. But whatever,
right.
we don't talk about
Made it to the
that.
dance, right?
Yeah, I mean that team shouldn't have been there anyway, but whatever. Prediction for the series. What do you got?
Give me Phillies at 5. I'll be optimistic.
Holy fuck!
I'm I'm going above. I'm going with the '08 run. Everything's kind of mirroring that, and it's been mirroring through the regular season. That '08 team finished with a better record, obviously, and won the division that year.
Right.
But they took down the Brewers in 4 games. Then they took down the Dodgers in 5 games. Took down Tampa Bay in 5 games. So let's
But
go Phil's in 5.
and the only team had expectations of winning it all that year. At least getting there because that team
They
was stacked.
did, and that was the other thing. There was a lot of offensive firepower in that lineup, but then behind Cole Hamels, that the pitching rotation wasn't anything to write home about. This time through, the Phillies have Wheeler and they have Nola, so they at least have 2 people that you can say any given day they're going to go out and pitch a gem. We've seen them both do it this season. Seen them both do it in the playoffs.
Hmm.
So I think that this year I feel a little more comfortable about the starting and a little less comfortable about the bullpen. In '08, you had Romero, you had Madsen, you had Lidge 7, 8, 9, and those guys just didn't give up runs ever. So
Right.
like if your starter got you to the 7th and you had the lead, that's a win for the Phillies. This year it's a little more shaky. We have Eflin, Dominguez, and Alvarado, but
Mhm.
we've seen them give up some runs in clutch situations. So not the same level of comfort that I feel that I did back then.
Right. All right. Let's get to the next Philly team here that's doing some great things. The Eagles are currently 6-0 as is recording. The only unbeaten team left in the NFL. And it feels like it feels like at least in the NFC it's a runaway.
Hmm.
Like you look at the rest. I mean, look, I know my Giants are a game behind you guys, but let's be real. The Giants are not on that level yet. They got a lot to prove before they get to that point. The Vikings, same thing. The Vikings, the only loss was against you guys.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to pose the question here, and I think I already know the answer, but I'll put it out there anyway. Any chance the Eagles go 17-0?
No. None.
No chance.
No chance.
So I'm going to do the schedule, and I agree with you. But I'll be honest with you, that schedule ain't, it's fairly decent. Like I said on the podcast about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, that it's a wrap. The number one season in AFC and NFC are locked up. And not just because of the fact that I believe in Philadelphia and Buffalo on the other side of the bracket, but the schedule's going to bear out now. And I mean, the only tough swing you have coming up really is late in the year, going to November, December, when you have that 3-game road trip. I think if you play the Giants, and I think Seattle's in there too, also, and maybe Dallas in
The
there. I'm not sure.
Giants, Bears,
Oh,
Cowboys.
Bears, Cowboys. Sorry, yeah, it was W2 NFC East teams. Other than that, this team should not lose more than 3 games this year.
I would say 3 is probably my measuring stick. I mean, we have 4 games left still against NFC East teams. We haven't played
Mm-hmm.
the Giants yet at all.
That's in
So we
December.
have to go to Dallas and then Commanders at home. So
My playoff Commanders. Hey, still in it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see them going 6-0 against the division. They're gonna lose at least one of those games, whether it's like at the end of the season, where they're resting some people towards the end. So be it. I also coming up. I mean, we have Steelers Texans next, but that's Sunday to Thursday. So those short rest games, they
Mhm.
should handle business. But I mean, you never know what teams are going to do on short rest days. So I would put 14-3 as probably where I'm seeing them finish up. I do not see them running the table.
Now, do you feel good about people going right now saying here through some weeks that they are the number one seed in the NFC? You feel good about that?
I do, yeah. And I think that's just because of what we've seen in the other divisions. There's not, I mean, the South and the West are both kind of middle of the pack right now, and
Mm.
teams will start to elevate themselves. But I think that, I mean, already everyone in the South has at least 3 losses, correct? Everyone in the West has at least three
Yeah,
losses.
everyone else has at least 4 losses.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, if we're putting the measuring stick at 14-3 for the Eagles, then those
Yeah,
other teams have to run the table the rest of the way to get
and
to that
you
level.
would need you would like the only teams left in on the on that side to do that right now based on record is the Vikings, who are again lost to you guys already. The Giants, who while it's a great story, don't see them going that far. So to me it's a cakewalk to the number one seed.
Hopefully, hopefully. I,
Well,
I think 14-3 is probably what I would assume. And so with the Giants having to play the Eagles twice, I would see a split there probably, and then the Giants have to play Dallas again. Was the last time in Dallas, or is
it
that
was in New
in?
York. It was in New
Okay,
York.
so they have to go to Dallas
Yeah,
to play them. So it's, yeah, it's going to be a weird finish. This whole NFL season just overall has
it's
been
so
weird.
fucking wacky, man. I can't believe that. And I can't stand you guys, especially though. But I love Jalen Hurts, though, man. Jalen Hurts has been fantastic this year, guys. I'm. It's so weird because like I joke about that, but I really am a fan of the kid. I follow the kid season in Alabama, and I
It's
thought he
hard
was a
not to be, right. Like
he's a great
he's a
dude, dude.
humble guy.
Right?
You can see he works hard.
Yeah,
I mean, he's very likable.
yeah.
He's just goes in, does his work, and just seems to be someone that his teammates all love. Like, and don't get me wrong, I was a big Wentz fan when he was with the Eagles, and I think he did great. And the injury certainly played a role
Hmm.
in the downfall of Wentz, but he didn't really seem to have the locker room like
Yeah.
Jalen did, like, or Jalen does. And even towards the end when there was like the leaks and not everyone agrees with it, even when he was having his MVP season prior to the injury, it didn't
Hmm.
seem like that team was like rallied behind Carson as much as they are behind Jalen.
Yeah. I have a weird thing for Philadelphia quarterbacks. Obviously I love Randall Cunningham growing up. Great watching him as a kid.
Not the love.
I mean McNabb. I had to stop with McNabb for years. I was a big Carson Wentz guy. I actually, a lot of my reason why I still picked Washington to go to playoffs because I still believe Wentz has something in the tank to do it.
Yeah.
I actually has an MVP like 5 years ago. So it's weird, but this kid Jalen Hurts is such a great kid, and it's like kind of things where like, I hate your fucking team, but like your quarterback's cool, man. I like
Yeah.
your quarterback. I'm hoping he does well. I hope he gets a new contract, big contract, all that stuff. So
I think he's played into that. I know there's still a lot of criticism of running versus passing, but what I've seen a lot is that he's just willing to do what he needs to do to win the game.
I think it's ending though. To be honest, because I what you're seeing now, a lot of people, a lot of analysts say now that it's almost like a requirement to have not so much a running quarterback, but a mobile quarterback that can move the
Yeah,
pocket.
but yeah, like your
It's almost a
Josh
requirement now.
Allen, your
Yes.
Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I mean, you have to have that ability to run. I think we've kind of seen the end of the pocket QBs that
We're seeing it now. Yeah.
dominated for so long, like your Big Bens, your Tom, your Peyton, your Eli, like
Yeah.
guys that could pick you apart if you gave them time. But if
Mhm.
that pocket collapses, then that's done.
I think Herbert's the last guy, and
Yeah,
he
but
can move around. He
he
can move
he
around
can move
too.
around. Derek Carr too, kind of same thing. He can move if he has to, but it's not what you expect out of him. But I mean, you look at the hot commodities of the QBs now, and I guess Burrow, because he has that surgically
Yeah.
repaired leg,
Yeah.
isn't running as much as he once
Yeah.
was. But
True.
But so I would say, but I mean, you look around the rest of the league, you see the teams at the tops, they have quarterbacks that are going to take off and run if they have to and
Right.
see the opportunity.
All right. Talk about a team that's had a slow start, but has some expectations come to the year. That is your Sixers. Now, you told me in the past that of all the sports teams you root for, that's the one you're most passionate about.
Yeah, I would put Philly, the Sixers at 1, Notre Dame 2, Phillies at 3.
Wow. Okay. 1-3 start. It was not pretty, but I look. It's I know I put that tweet out.
Expected in my eyes. The
Really? You think so?
Bucks.
Really?
I mean,
Well, the Bucks game definitely, but
game one was in Boston on Bill Russell night.
right,
No chance they're winning that.
right,
Zero. That team was going to come out hot and motivated. That city was going to be into it. I mean, that they retired or had the whole ceremony for Bill Russell. I mean,
right.
that was Boston's night to win.
Mm-hmm.
They're not losing that game. Milwaukee it's a coin toss either direction. I mean, for the most part, Milwaukee has had the Sixers number. We've beat them a handful of times, but
Yeah.
I wasn't anticipating that. The Spurs one is where I was first like, okay, we're coming out a little bit too slow here. But then, I mean, you told me the Spurs have been playing kind of upstart this season,
Yeah.
so
Them in Utah and Portland are now, playing out of the gourd right now.
yeah,
But a lot of the talk, because number one, James Harden's been actually really good, like
yeah,
individually speaking. But
yeah.
a lot of the talk has been that Harden being great isn't good for the team. Harden being, Harden like Houston Harden is not really good for the team. And a lot of the announcements I've heard, in the last couple of days is that for Philadelphia to take the next leap to being that top 3-2 Eastern Conference team to contend for NBA Finals berth or win a championship, is that Tyrese Maxey has to take the next step. He has to be the number 2 option as opposed to Harden. You agree with that?
I don't think it's necessarily wrong. I just don't think that Maxi is ready for that yet, and I think that's kind
Okay.
of the importance of Harden being in this team because you follow basketball pretty closely. You've seen Harden kind of taking Maxi under his wing since he got here, working with him closely. You've seen Maxi kind of working on the step back. It's not going to
Right.
be as pretty as Harden's, but he's getting there. But he's learning to be a more confident 3-point shooter than he was his rookie campaign. And I think that just continues to grow as those two continue to play together in that backcourt. So I think by next season is when you'd see Joel and Maxi be the 1-2 and James kind of fall into the third slot there. But I don't think they're quite ready for that yet. And I think Harden sees that, which is why he's been playing more. But you and I have talked for Philly to be at the next level. It's not so much about the players. It's about moving on from Doc Rivers.
You're not a Doc guy still.
I'm still not. I think the past few seasons, I mean, we saw what the team did with Brett Brown. They just couldn't get past that hump. We brought in Doc Rivers to get them past that, and they're still not winning series that they should. They're still not moving past rounds that they should be able to. And so I've been ready for the Sam Cassell era in Philly, and I think if they don't make that happen, another team is going to start the Sam Cassell era somewhere else, and Philly will be remiss of another coach that they let go that is going to see success, like Monty in Phoenix.
Doc is another year in his contract, right? Another year after this.
I think he even has 2 left. I think he signed
a
5-year deal.
He signed an extension. Or you just
He didn't sign an extension, but he had
okay.
a 5-year deal coming in. I think we're in year 4 right now.
Okay. Because I've been off the Doc wagon for quite a few years now. I actually wrote a blog back in 2017 saying Doc Rivers is overrated with the Clippers. Okay. Because he's been living off that Celtics 08 title for a long fucking time. And it's time to get off that wagon now.
I mean, at the time, though, when they brought him in, it was really came down to him, D'Antoni, who I wanted no part of, and Lou, who I kind of put on the same pedestal as
Ty Lue?
Yeah.
You like Ty Lue?
I haven't seen enough out of Ty Lue to say this guy is an incredible coach.
I like Lou. I think Lou was what he did with the Clippers last year.
I mean, in retrospect, him over Doc 100%.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wasn't when that it was kind. Doc was kind of not even in the conversation at first, and then he got let go from Los Angeles, and it moved quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really between D'Antoni and Lou, and I was like, I'm not really sold on either of these guys. And we got Doc Brown. It was like, okay, great. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of those three are coaches that I think that it's kind of we're past that point. We need to start looking at other assistant coaches, and that's why I'm ready for Cassell, because I think that the work he's done in the backcourt. I mean, you've seen the growth of Maxey, and I think that is 100% attributed to Sam Cassell working with him.
But at 1-3, you're not concerned at this point.
It's tough for me to really.
You didn't say no. See, you didn't say no. So
concerned. Right the Spurs loss was the first time where I was like, this is a problem. So a 1-3 start isn't great, but I mean, a few years ago they started 5-0, the Horford year, and that was an absolute mess by the end of it. So I think this early in the season they're still figuring things out. This is the first year that they've had like their core in place, but at the same time they did still add Tucker. They added Melton. Like those are two people that I think are going to play a large role on the team, and they're probably just adjusting to getting them into whatever it is Doc is trying to do.
Right. Last thing, let you go. I this is off the grid, not fully related, obviously. Obviously, you, like I said earlier in the podcast, you are part of 1/5 of the 3 Count Wrestling, 3 Count Thursday podcast. So on the last episode I did yesterday, I touched on Seth Rollins because I've been so like you know my history. I was at the 2002. I stopped watching wrestling for 17 years. Obviously, I checked in a little bit here with Cena and just to see what's going on. But
it's a longer break than I took, but probably around the same time.
Right,
I think I was until like 14. 13.
Well, between being in a band and then my girlfriend with my wife and having kids, I just didn't, that was something I just didn't have time for.
Right.
And then 3 years ago, I got back into it. And I knew what Seth Rollins was for long, even then. And then at the time when I followed Seth Rollins at that time, he had just won a title from Brock, and I wasn't feeling his the babyface thing. I just wasn't feeling that run.
Okay.
That's the same time when Kofi won the title as well too. And then these last couple of years now, him turning heel again in late 19, and he's been heel ever since. I've done the 180 on Seth Rollins.
Okay.
To me, and I want to ask you this because we were gonna do this on Take 3 Wrestling this year. I'm not sure we're still gonna do it or not, because this year was the 4th anniversary of Vince McMahon taking over for his dad. We're gonna do a WWE 40 we'll rank the top 40 greatest superstars history of the company.
Okay.
I think if you really think about it, Seth Rollins is possibly a top 25 guy, maybe even top 20. You can make a case for that. I think this run as Seth freaking Rollins, this run with the eccentric and deferred and all that stuff, I fucking love it. I don't know how you feel about it, but I fucking think it's fantastic. It's a great character. I think this character, especially, has put him in a possible top 20 conversation. What do you think?
Okay. So, I mean, you have to look at the different phases of Seth Rollins. I mean, the Seth freaking Rollins stuff is fantastic. I'm with you on that, 100%.
Best run?
No, not for me. The Authority Seth Rollins.
Okay.
Right after the Shield turn is probably my favorite. The I didn't sell out, I bought in phase. The whole feud that he had being the top guy, the face of like Triple H's anointed one. I think that was Seth Rollins' best work as a heel and his best work in the ring. Obviously, injuries kind of played a part in why that didn't continue, because I think that would have been a meteoric rise if he doesn't get hurt.
Right.
I wasn't a huge fan of the Messiah Seth Rollins. I don't know how you felt on that. But absolutely as a face, I don't want to see that anymore. That's not Seth's best work. Him being that I'm better than you, that kind of dickhead heel, has always been his best era, even starting with the Shield. Him and Dean were the mouthpieces of the Shield, because Seth's always cut fantastic promos, and it just doesn't work as well if he's supposed to be the guy that we're cheering for. He has to be that guy you love to hate more than anything else.
Right.
So I don't know that he makes it as high as top 20, but 100% top 25.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like he's definitely a top 40 guy. I mean, no one's going to
Oh,
question
easy,
that.
easy.
He's
Yeah.
top 40. This run reminds me of my all-time favorite wrestler, Macho Man Randy Savage. His Macho King run though,
Okay.
where he was, I was back to being a heel after losing title to Hogan in '89, and just going even more eccentric. Sensational Sherry, his manager especially, they made that change, and it still worked. To me, Seth Rollins is not a great top guy, but he's a great number 2/number 3 guy.
To me,
It's like same with Savage.
yeah, and for me, because my top guy is HBK, I don't see many similarities with those two, but number 2 is Guerrero, and I think that that smirk, that he's the lie, cheat, and steal stuff, and what Seth has done throughout some of his heel runs, where he's kind of, even with the Shield, where it was constantly like them helping each other out to stay on top. I think that's where I see more similarities, and probably why I've been drawn to Seth since he started, is just because he's had the attitude that Eddie had. He's cool like Eddie was, but he's not necessarily. And Eddie was a face and pulled it off well, but Eddie was a lot more fun when he was the heel and when he was doing the whole lie, cheat, steal angle of his career.
What's funny about Guerrero though is that obviously his WWE run was fantastic in the 2000s, but I've seen more of his WCW stuff than the WWE, because by the time he came to WWE in 02 or 102, that's when I stopped. I mean, obviously I see matches in hindsight, but I still don't. I get why the greatness and stuff, but I still remember most of his WCW stuff actually.
Yeah.
So it's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I think that's kind of one of those legacy things that people, it's tough to really separate some, because there's been so much. Like Jericho had a fantastic WWE career, but also had a fantastic WCW career that just kind of gets glossed over now, because I mean they combined eventually, so it didn't really matter. But there's no one really like that Sting character, who was 98% WWE, because of the run that I don't think many Sting fans want to talk about in WWE. But
I still forget that actually happened. I have been reminded it actually happened, because it was 2014, whatever it was.
Yeah, and I was never a WCW guy. I was always WWF. Okay. Yeah, but so Sting coming over, I understood the importance of it, but that run didn't tarnish Sting for me, just because I didn't have the Wolfpack and the Crow Sting love that a lot of WCW guys have. Like Tim on 3 Count is a huge Sting guy for that reason.
So you didn't watch? You were into the NWO stuff early on?
I watched it. It's just when it came to the wars, I watched Monday Night Raw, and then I would read about what happened on Nitro, or maybe tape it on another TV and go back and watch it. But I was always watching
VCR.
Live. Yeah.
No, I'm a Hogan disciple. So when Hogan went to WCW, that's where I went also too. And then it wasn't until after the NWO got way too fucking bloated, and then when they split up the NWO to Wolfpack, I was out.
Okay.
Went back
to WWE. Which is funny, because Big Jim is a Bret Hart disciple, but he stayed true to Vince in the breakup.
Yeah, I know. Well, he made the right choice though, because what did Bret do in fucking WCW? He did nothing.
Nothing. He got injured.
It's not his fault, to be honest. The book was just fucking terrible. You know, so it is what it is. Hey, Matt, plug away. Anything you want to plug? We get out of here?
Yeah, you can hear me, as EJ alluded to. I'm on Thursday nights and Tuesday nights, technically, on the 3 Count podcast, where we talk mainly WWE wrestling, but we're starting to dip into some other stuff, some AEW and some non-wrestling related discussions. We have a Halloween episode coming up this week, where we're going to debate the spooky or creepy characters from wrestling, and make our Mount Rushmore, and discuss if they even work moving forward. Right, your boogeyman's. Do you ever see a character like that in WWE? So that's going to be the discussion. So that's 3 Count Thursday. You can hear me on the Huddle Up podcast most Tuesdays. This coming week's gonna be a little wonky because I'll be at the World Series, but I'm
But
usually there on
is Game 4
Tuesdays.
actually on Tuesday?
Game 4 is on Tuesday. Yeah.
Damn, so I won't see you. Damn.
Yeah, so I'm taking off work early. I got the approval. I will be in Philly by noon, and wish me luck.
How
So
far is the stadium from your house?
it's about a 2 hour drive. So I'm
Really?
leaving. Yeah, I'm leaving my house around noon. Get there by 2. I got a hotel for the night, so I'm not.
But you do live in you live in Philadelphia, right? Or no?
No, I live outside of Philadelphia.
Okay, okay.
I live closer to Harrisburg.
Oh,
So
okay, okay. I was telling Jim the other day in the podcast, you guys between you and all the other 3 count guys, you guys make PA sound much more fun than it probably should be.
yeah,
You really
the
do.
the areas that we live
Outside Philly, of course, though. Outside Philly, I expect it to be great. Like, I don't hate everything about Philadelphia. I love the Roots, for example. One of my all-time favorite groups of all time. I love Will Smith. I get it, but it's just a sports thing. That's all. It's a rivalry thing. I can't help
it's totally fair. Totally
So,
fair. Yep. And then we'll see next time I'm on the Earnestly Speaking podcast. I know we said you, me, and Ryan were gonna have a political discussion sometime, so we should definitely do that sometime.
I'm very interested in that Senate and governor's race actually. In that state.
Yeah. From
Very
what I heard,
interested
the Senate debate didn't go very well for anyone involved, so that's probably why they both waited until a week before election day to do this, because most minds are made up at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say on pretty much any. I don't think there's a lot of swing voters really in all these races. To be honest with you.
No,
so
not at this point. Everyone's probably had their mind made up for the last 3-6 months, honestly.
Yeah, pretty much. So, all right, man. Good job as always.
All right, brother.